And we are live here to talk about tonight's episode of Arrow, which was entitled Training Day. It's episode 15 of season 7, which we now know based on news announced last week, I want to say, after Wednesday, I think it was announced that Arrow is ending, not getting canceled. Don't correct me, I know. It's ending through like mutual cast, everything, everybody's come together, decided to come to its natural end, whatever. And this is the last full season of Arrow. They still have their season 8 renewal, but they chosen to only go for 10 episodes, which would be a fun like farewell season. But this is the last full season of Arrow, which is just, it's exciting but nostalgic, and I'm happy that they're not doing the no offense to the CW thing of running it into the ground and waiting until it drops to, I think it's called a blue target, something like that, when essentially it's listed as like having 0 viewers because it's under like 1 million or something like that. I don't remember. TV Grim Reaper has a definition of what that is. Anyways, I'm glad that they're not waiting for that point and they're going out on kind of a high. It's hard to say if a show ever really goes out on a high, but going out in the hands of Beth Schwartz, who I think has done a wonderful job so far. But we're going to talk about tonight's episode, not about that. And tonight's episode had to do with Team Arrow joining forces with the police force. And, they're all out, they're all deputized, and they're trying to work together as a team, so they're training to do so and trying to figure out what that's going to look like. So I want to hear what you guys thought of tonight's episode and what you would rate it on a scale from 1 to 5, as we always do. 1 being you hated everything about it, and 5 being it was like a fantastic, perfect episode. How are you feeling, with the episode ending less than 10 minutes ago? So it's your initial thoughts and reactions if you watched live on East Coast. What are your thoughts? So looking in the chat, I see immediately Stormy's got a 4 out of 5. Bruna's got a 4 out of 5. Stormy's saying she's glad the show is choosing to stop with their core intact. The core has always been Oliver, Felicity, and Dig. Yeah, there was a really lovely scene, I think, tonight where they were reuniting the original trio. It was when Oliver and Felicity tell Diggle that they're pregnant, which is really exciting, and they're talking about basically how the team was going to function while within the police force. And I thought it was a really cool dynamic. Now, I, for one, and you guys tell me if I'm in the minority on this or if this is, a common opinion, I don't love Team Arrow teaming up with the police force, and I'll tell you why. So the main reason, of course, this is fiction, so nothing has to be moral or good or whatever. But so my main reason is really just like my gut instinct tells me that that's going to be a less dynamic solution. We're going to see, either everything be really unreasonable and the police would never allow that, and the government would never allow that, and all that kind of thing. Like, it'd be really hard to suspend disbelief. Or we're going to see the police and government or whatever basically cramp their style. And I'm not anticipating that being a fantastic dynamic. Now, also from a moral standpoint, which I want to reiterate, doesn't matter because it's fiction. But from a moral standpoint, I don't like the idea of a government-sanctioned vigilante justice, because the whole point of vigilante justice is that you're choosing to go above the law for the sake of the greater good. You're saying, I know better than what the law currently says, which is entirely possible, absolutely fair stance to take, and I'm going to choose to go above the law because that is more important than me staying out of jail. Like, I may try to stay out of jail, but more important than my ability to stay out of jail and stay out of trouble, I'm going to choose to go above the law, stop whatever bad thing is happening, and accept the consequences, because it's more important that I stop X or protect Y than it is that I get government support and approval on everything I'm doing. That's the concept of vigilante justice. You're accepting the fact that nobody's going to support you, it's you against the world, and you're having to take ultimate ownership and responsibility for your actions and the morals that you're forcing on people, with the understanding that in most cases that we've seen so far with Team Arrow, they are doing it for the greater good and it is beneficial, and we root for them to stay out of jail. Does that make sense? That's the concept of this whole Arrowverse entirely. So having them team up with government-sanctioned approval takes away that risk, and it's the government sanctioning them to impose their morality on others. And that takes away this entire concept of vigilante justice. And just because they're allowed to continue to suit up and continue to use the same weapons or use the same code names or whatever, just because they're allowed to almost reenact the fact that they're Team Arrow, the very fact that the government, police force, etc., in any way approves of it, takes away the entire responsibility of it being vigilante justice. Okay, end rant. I'll stop being salty, and I want to reiterate again, the morality argument I just made doesn't matter because this is fiction. It's a matter of what's more entertaining. I also think it'd be more entertaining for them to not get a collab deal with the police force. Anyways, let's see what else we got. Carrie Johnson says, what's up, folks? 4.5, stilted canary cries out of 5. Another high rating. I love that. Stormy says she doesn't like it either. The cops suck, and the only criminals they've caught in 7 years because of Team Arrow gift wrapped them for the cops. Yeah, I mean, there's also that. You know, whether you are taking the stance of rooting against the cops and saying the cops in the city have a terrible track record, misuse funds, misuse responsibility, misuse resources, and are generally useless, as the cops want to be in, you know, hero shows and movies and so on. Or whether you're taking the stance of defending the cops and saying the cops are well within their right to continuously crush vigilante justice, because if we allow everyone to impose their morals violently on others without any ramifications, then we live in a society where everyone can violently impose their morals on others without any ramifications. And by stopping that, by saying no one can use vigilante justice, and if you do, you will get sent to jail, you will get whatever, it whittles down the people who will enforce vigilante justice to the ones who genuinely only believe they're right and are genuinely willing to go to jail for it. And if the cops are doing their job, they will go to jail for it. Again, the morality doesn't matter because it's fiction, but the whole premise of the story does ride on the fact that they are willing to risk their lives in order to protect this city. That's the whole point of them being a hero for this city. They're saying, I'll risk my life trying to capture this assassin, big bad, blah, 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 and their partner and kids and all of that sort of stuff's lives, and then give up their whole tie to their family, go to jail, do all of that sort of stuff for the good of others. They're willing to give up their entire life and freedom for the good of others. You whittle it down to just those people. Now, sometimes those people are still crazy villains, but for the sake of the story, whittling it down to where the people participating in the action are the true heroes and the true villains makes for a great plot line as well. A concept. Brian Perez says 4.5 out of 5. Love this episode. All the OTA and Felicity scenes, my heart. Yes, Brian, I love that as well. I like the scene at the end where they were talking about baby names. That was a cool little throwback to Moira. That was really cute. I liked the Black Siren and Emiko scene as well. I thought that was kind of cool. I liked all of the OTA scenes. That's the most important part of the episode to me, always. Stormy says, someone on Twitter said Dinah's cry sounds like C-3PO. Well, C-3PO is within the Star Wars universe, which is owned by Disney, who owns Marvel. So a bit of a universe crossover there. Stormy says, who's to say the government wouldn't try to use the vigilantes against the people of the city? I mean, that's also true. By putting the ability to enact violent justice unchecked outside of the bounds of the law within the hands of the government, defeats the whole purpose of checks and balances within the government. How are the people protected from the government when the government is allowing its employees to use boundless violence and means outside of, you know, the concepts of being innocent until being proven guilty or due process or anything like that. Again, it's fiction. It doesn't matter. So if it made for a better story, or if it makes for a better story, fantastic. Go for it. So far, not totally convinced. I am loving all the OTA and Listy stuff though, which is kind of bound to happen with the show ending. Like, what else are they, like, what else do they think we're going to care about in the last, I guess we're in the last 20 under 20 episodes of the show, right? So tonight was episode 15 out of a 22 episode seasons. We got like 7 episodes left, right? Okay, so we've got 17 episodes left of Arrow ever. Ah, gasp. Although I think a lot of the Arrow characters are going to continue to cross over to other shows. I think Arrow and Legends are both ending, and then Flash will end shortly after that because their ratings are terrible as well. The storyline's kind of crap. Sorry, no offense. Once all of those have ended, well, once Arrow and Legends end, a lot of their characters who are either really good or couldn't find another job will go over to Arrow and Flash for like big guest appearances, and they'll hype that up as much as they can. And then once that dies, then they'll cancel both Supergirl and Flash, and that'll be the end of that. Although I think they're trying to still get a spin-off out of Arrow with the young kiddos, William, Maya / Black Star, Connor. I don't know who all else. Maybe they'll bring back Baby Sarah. Back into the chat. We're jumping in. Carrie says, so with an episode called Training Day, am I the only one who's surprised that no one uttered the line, Gorilla Grodd ain't got nothing on me? So I take it you were watching last week's episode of Flash, where we had Gorilla Grodd showing up and some Flash reenactment of The Shape of Water. Is that what it's called? Is that the movie where a woman sleeps with a fish? Because that was basically last week's episode of The Flash. Except she slept with a shark. Or maybe she didn't sleep with him. It is The Flash. Anyways. Lonely Love says the baby name scene was also my favorite. I thought that was so sweet. And there's something about Oliver and Felicity's scenes where, in addition to being very engaging and fun to watch and sweet and all that sort of stuff, their scenes are always, and I'll also throw in this mix, their scenes with Diggle as well, are always such a good opportunity to throw in more history from the show, because these are characters who've been around forever. And the more I get into this season, the more I realize just how much the other characters have not been around forever. And pretty much every other character who has been around for a long time, Thea, Roy, Moira, Detective Lance, Laurel, Sarah, who am I forgetting? Tommy, but that he lived for half a second, whatever. They're all gone, or I guess in Laurel's case, changed to Black Siren or whatever. They're not there anymore. So anytime we get Oliver, Felicity, and Diggle together, we do get these references to the earlier seasons and some of that. And I'm not one of those people that looks at earlier seasons with rose-colored glasses on. I think there's some major flaws in season 1 to the point where, I don't know, let me know in the chat if any of y'all actually remember this. After season 1, before season 2 started, I was around, and I recall them, maybe it was after the first episode of season 2 came out, they had a bit of a ratings jump when they announced that Felicity Smoke was going to continue with the show. So she appeared in episode 3, 7, 10, and then like off and on regularly to the end of season 1. Likewise, viewership started to, you know, rise. Social media presence started to rise, and at the end of season 1, they released this like 20-minute, I want to say, summary of the whole season, which we all used a lot on social media. I don't know if this was their intention. I suspect this was their intention. We all used to sort of like get people to catch up with the show and start watching in season 2, even if they didn't sit through all of season 1, because it was really hard at that time. I don't know if you guys remember, to get somebody to start watching the show for the like, oh, you know, this is really cool. We've got like Oliver, Felicity, and Diggle and whatever. And when we would try to get people to watch the show back then, ancient years, they would be like, okay, like I watched like the first 3 episodes, don't know who most of the characters you're talking about are, like those don't seem to be the main characters, and so-and-so's annoying, or so-and-so's this, whatever, and you'd have to be like, okay, you got to really stick it out to like episode 10, and that's when everybody good shows up. So that whole summary was really useful. Anyways, all of that to say, all of them from season 1, they're pretty much the only survivors, understandably so, and when they do end up on screen for any length of time now, it's nice to have sort of those callbacks, despite season 1 having its flaws, to the point where we had to have a 20-minute summary of it. Ben Levine says the mayor is so annoying. I think she's supposed to be. Stormy clarifies, yes, it is The Shape of Water, where some woman sleeps with a fish or something. Stormy also says Mia being named after her grandmother, something Felicity fans have wanted for a while. Glad to see that happen. Yep, I hope she's just as cutthroat as Moira. A fave. She also says Felicity's message to her kids brought tears to my eyes. She and Oliver love their kids so much. Also, I liked Felicity's message to her kids because it was over audio, and Felicity has such a distinct voice, or Emily Bett has such a distinct voice, which communicates emotion so well. I know I mentioned a while back she did some voice work for a series of books. I think she was doing like the audiobook reading, whatever, for, I don't know if it was for one specific character or a whole book or something. And yeah, she's got a really distinctive voice, which is really cool. In the chat, Bronze Tiger called his son Connor Hawk. I'm betting something happens to him being Bronze Tiger, and Dig adopts his son. Bronze Tiger did save Lila during an Argus mission years ago. That is an excellent theory, Stormy. I'm betting that's true. That makes perfect sense. Okay, so Bronze Tiger is going to have a kid, Connor Hawk, probably here in no time. And because of his previous ties with Dig and Lila, he'll give the kid to them, or they'll take care of the kid when Bronze Tiger dies or has to fake his death and leave the country, or whatever they do now. Anyways, all that to say, I would rate this episode a crisp 3.9 out of 5. It's almost a 4.5 for me. It was really, it was nice to see all of the like OTA focus and all of that, but the partnership with the police, it's really more of like a tentative. I really shouldn't dock points for the partnership for the police, because it's possible that will get explored to the point where it is really interesting. But for right now, the partnership with the police seems a little too flat and obvious, and I don't love it. And it's okay if I don't love it, if they also like explore all sides of it. I'm not sure they will. I hope they do. It's like a tentative, we'll almost dock a point for it. Stormy says Connor was the kid who visited Tiger in jail tonight. Yeah. That's interesting. I really like the future scenes right now. They've had their ups and downs for me. So the future, the flash forward bit was like, oh, it was cool. Like we're seeing everybody for the first time or whatever at first. And then it got kind of redundant, and storyline wasn't moving forward. Nobody was doing anything. We were supposed to care about Renee being mayor, like just dumb stuff. And then now that we have William and Mia, as like Oliver and Felicity's kids, getting to, you know, explore the future. Now it's interesting. Like now I could get into it. Now I'm at a place where I could watch a whole flash forward episode, which I think is coming up soon. Somebody tell me in the chat when that's coming up, because I think that's already been spoiled, which of the next 7 episodes is all flash forward. Now I'm getting to the place where I could watch an all flash forward episode. Prior to the last couple weeks, I was like, I don't know how they're going to pull this off, but I'm about to sleep through the whole episode. Not anymore. Carrie says, I know the show's Green Arrow, but it continues to bug me how haphazardly they treated the Black Canary. They treated the characters as if she's interchangeable. Now they strip the cry, disappointed. Yeah, I mean, the stripping the cry thing doesn't bother me, and I will tell you why. 2 reasons. Reason number 1, this is Arrow. This is a gritty street fighting show. This is not a show that centers around metas. The best thing they can do for a character that they want to center the show around in any way is to make them not a meta. We all remember what happened to Ragman. Ragman was a fantastic character who was portrayed really well, who fit well with the team, and was one of the least annoying new characters they have ever brought onto this show. But because his meta powers were so OP that it just couldn't fit with the team anymore, they had to get rid of him, losing some pretty valuable storylines they could have pulled in with him. And I think they regretted having to let him go. Like, they didn't, I don't think anybody involved wanted that to happen. And it was just because he was a meta, truly. Like, that was why he was not fitting with the team. Everything else about him was fantastic and had some very intentional character traits that they had put into him and invested some time and energy into. That could have happened to Dinah if they had kept that cry too long. It would have become a one-trick pony that would have been OP-ish compared to some of the other things. Stripping her cry makes her appropriate for this show, Arrow. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, we've been saying all along, and by we, I mean like most of y'all in the chat and myself and everybody on Arrow Squad and all that, we've been saying if you redeem Black Siren, you're going to mess up a lot of things for a lot of people. Like, I'm here saying I've loved some of the like snarky, cool, funny scenes with Black Siren and Felicity, all of that. For the temporary time being, this whole redemption of Black Siren has been all fun and fresh and cute and whatever. But long term, the place that redeemed character holds in the storyline is a dead character. So in order to make Black Siren relevant as a redeemed character, they have to substantially change everything she can do, add more powers to her, as they have. She's now a meta, and then injure people around her, change their characters, change their moral judgment, change their abilities, etc. So it's not like pitting women against each other. We can't have two people in black leather on the show. It's, for all intents and purposes, coming from someone who does not like comparing women to each other and saying what, like two is too many and like plenty of room for all women. Even I'm telling you, they fill the same plot function on the show. So for one of them to be redeemed, the other one, something has to change. I think that was like Dinah got the better end of that deal because Black Siren got redeemed, making her completely, for the purpose of the plot, irrelevant. Funny, cute, loved some of her latest scenes, whatever. But plot-wise, she's purposeless. They can keep her, but plot-wise, she's purposeless. Dinah stripping her power made her appropriate for Arrow. Granted, Arrow's about to get canceled in about 17 more episodes. Well, and not canceled in about 17 more episodes. But for the remainder of those 17 more episodes, she's finally someone who actually fits the show, so congrats. Still not loving a lot of her decisions, still not loving a lot of her storyline, but she has a place in a storyline now that her power's stripped. That's my stance. Open to counter arguments. Okay. It's very valid for it to bug somebody, though, because they've been really up and down with her. And for it to happen during a season where her writing has not been the best is probably extremely frustrating. Stormy says, can I just say the promo has me hyped? We get to see Mia's birth and Oliver's there. My heart exploded. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of cool that we're getting to see Mia's birth so soon. We're not having to sit through, like, this long-ass pregnancy. Interesting. Bruna says, I'm still in shock with the promo for the next episodes. Stormy agrees. Metas just don't fit on the show. Ben Levine says flash forward better have purpose. Yeah, I hope so. I hope the flash forward has purpose, but at the same time, I don't want them to write themselves into a corner and feel like they have to have the flash forwards be the real future. I'm okay with it being a possible future, and for them to deviate from this possible future. Watch YouTube take like a screenshot of me like mid yawn and use that as the automatic thumbnail for this video. I don't want them to write themselves in a corner and feel like they can't deviate from the future. I kind of just want it to be a possible future, but I do want it to be meaningful. I don't know how they're going to bridge that gap. I can think of some options. I don't know if they'll take those, and I suspect what they're going to do is make the future line up with the present, which is the least interesting solution. But it could happen. Okay. I've kept you 3 minutes overtime, for which I apologize. Lonely Love says, what are you hoping for the end of Arrow with Mia and William? Well, I hope Mia and William live. I suspect Oliver is already dead in the future, and I hope Felicity lives as well and gets at least some time to be a mother with her 2 kids, not having to hide them from each other for their own safety. That's what I would like. Oh, my lipstick's really wearing off in the middle of my lip. What would you guys like for the future and for the end of Arrow? Are you hoping for any spin-offs with the future kiddos? Are you hoping for any spin-offs with any other characters? Are there any characters that you think should stay in the Arrowverse and go to other shows after Arrow ends? It will be topics interesting to discuss in the next 17 episodes. You don't have to have an opinion tonight necessarily. If you want your opinion to impact the series finale, you probably want your opinion to be formed by about July of this year, though. So, Lonely Love says, I hope for a huge family reunion. That sounds nice. If they don't kill off Oliver, I think they'll do that. I think they're trying to make us think they killed off Oliver, so that's really the only thing making me think that there's like a tiny chance that they might not. Teeny tiny. Stormy agrees. She hopes Mia and William reunite with their parents. Carrie says splitting up William and Mia, slightly almost like splitting up Luke and Leia. Well, without the Darth dad issues. Carrie, are you suggesting that Oliver Queen is not Darth Vader? All right, thank you guys for your comments. It always makes the episode so much more fun and interesting. It's made this series and this show so much more fun, interesting, and rewarding that even on weeks where I don't like the episode as much as I did this week, having you guys to talk to afterwards on here and on Twitter and on the podcast and Facebook and everywhere else makes this really fun. And probably what I'm most sad about with this show ending in 17 more episodes is that I only have 17 more episodes of you guys. Second to that is 17 more episodes of Felicity Smoke is the sad part. But you guys might top even that. So I will see you next week. Same time, same place.